Chapter 5, Puppy Funaho. The last flight had departed from the spaceport, and the lights were on, but there were few people out and about. Yosho arrived at the lobby using Funaho's terminal, felt a presence in the designated area, and cheerfully called out, "Sorry to keep you waiting." Eri appeared from behind the pillar. "Looks like you made it out." "Yes, but I passed by other students on the way, and I was surprised that nobody questioned me." Haha. There isn't anyone tactless enough to say something to interfere with someone who managed to outwit the dorm night check. Of course, that doesn't mean you get a free pass. Well, someone will warn you if you're someplace you're really not supposed to be. In that case, you get the heck out of there as told. Or else a guard will catch you. Or if you play it wrong, some shifty harvesters will catch you. Harvesters. People out looking for human experimental subjects. It doesn't matter. Hurry up. You're the one who brought it up. This way. They headed to Funaho's gate, where she returned to the spaceport from orbit, though the port data had been tampered with so that it seemed like she had never left. Through a passage lit only by emergency lights, they boarded Funaho and arrived on the main bridge. Eri looked around at the bridge and said, "Yosho-kun, I hope you're not going to tell me that the voice was this ship's computer." What? Yosho was bewildered that she had hit the nail on the head. "You're not serious, are you?" "You are correct. I'm leaving." She squared her shoulders and stomped away, and Yosho hurriedly held her back. Wait. You came all the way out here. When I heard that voice, I really got my hopes up. But it's just a computer." Eri sounded angry, but she looked deeply disappointed. "Aridano, what were you hoping for?" "A royal tree. Children of Tsunami, the powerful and intelligent progenitor and guardian god of the Jurai imperial family." "I see." There was a laugh, and Eri looked up. "Yosho-kun, don't you laugh." The laughter continued directly into their minds, just like at the park. Eri, this voice. It's the one you were hoping for." In that instant, they were transported to the real main bridge, the Hall of Royal Trees. The stifling scent of wet soil and summer grass was thick in the pure, sweet air. The whole place danced with light and sound. Spheres of light wove exuberantly between the tree branches, flickering in time to a faint melody, as if the tree in front of them were singing. Eri opened her eyes wide. "Yosho-kun, are you serious?" "Allow me to introduce you to Funaho, a first-generation imperial tree." The sphere of light proliferated, intensifying the brightness. Hello, Eri. The spheres of light crowded and fluttered about Eri. "Oh!" With a sigh of wonder, Eri dropped to her knees. "Please tell me, what are you?" she implored the light. Yosho could not help but be shocked at her desperate cry. "Aridano, what's the matter? Is Tsunami the progenitor one of the three goddesses?" Not listening to Yosho, Eri looked up at Funaho with her hands clasped in front of her chest, as if imploring the gods. Visually, it looked like the Advent. Suddenly, the light disappeared and silence fell around them. As if that was Funaho's answer to Eri's question. Funaho-sama, please answer me. Aridano. Yosho embraced Eri, her hands outstretched, to hold her back. "Aridano. Yosho-kun." Her shoulders slumped. Eri hung her head. Supporting her, Yosho led her towards the bench by the side of the nursery unit. Eri was breathing heavily, unable to contain her excitement and distress. "Are you all right?" "Yes, I'm sorry. What were you trying to ask the royal tree?" "If you don't mind." Eri would not answer. "Aridano." "I want to find God." After a pause, she started talking slowly. It was a confessional. "God?" "Yes, the three goddesses, if possible." "The three goddesses?" "Yes, or rather, intelligent beings of a higher dimension. They are often called gods even in this modern technologically advanced age, due to their awesome power. Especially when it pertains to religion." "That's right. There have been several confirmed examples, but they hardly ever show themselves to humanity." I found out through research at the Academy that there have only been 28 encounters, including scientifically reliable accounts discovered in the ruins of prehistorical civilizations. But among the super-powerful intelligent beings of a higher dimension, there seem to be 3 goddesses with singular abilities who are an order of magnitude more powerful than the rest. There seemed. Yes, through methodical classification of accounts from those civilizations, they can be grouped into 3 types. That's rather vague. Is there not enough information? No. These instances of other dimensional intelligent beings have specifics. Otherwise, they wouldn't be accepted as true encounters. Then, the data exists, she interrupted. Data that can't be accepted. Can't be accepted? Yes, it exists, but then it doesn't. It doesn't exist, but we can see it. Those are the clear descriptions left behind. Eri looked at him, waiting for his words. Light hawk wings. Eri nodded silently. The light hawk wings were not detectable in any energy readings, but they were visible as light. She was saying that the wings of light that the royal trees above 3rd generation could generate were the manifestations of the 3 goddesses. Sometimes science has cruel results. The act of pursuing the truth can crush you. The gods were stripped of their veils of romanticism and lost the power they held in people's hearts. And now people have to fill those holes themselves. Gods are eternal, but people are not. No matter how great their charisma, once a person is gone, they're no longer a god. Are you talking about the first leader of Erine? My great-grandfather made Drine the most powerful religion in the galaxy. But to maintain it once it got too large, a powerful idol was vital. The council first sought that in blood lineage. They set up my grandfather, then my father, to replace my influential great-grandfather's charisma. But as more internal factions grew within the council, this was no longer possible. They tried to create a new god by deifying my great-grandfather, but that can only be done when the god in question has absolute power. So the council wanted an absolute idol, a god. They wanted Tsunami-sama. It was a shocking confession. There are almost no Irai believers on Jurai. But that's obvious. They have a real god on Jurai. So the council wanted to propagate Erine on Jurai and make Tsunami-sama into an Irai god. You too, Eridano? I thought so while I was on Irai, that Tsunami-sama must be Irai's god. That Jurai was monopolizing Tsunami-sama for themselves. This was her confessional. It became hard for Eri to look Yosho in the eye, and she averted her gaze, but I got here and met so many people, and the ones from countries I used to dislike or look down on were so nice to me. It destroyed my sense of values. I was embarrassed for what I tried to do and the lies the council taught. It's laughable. They were trying to protect the organization, but at some point that had become the goal. They even went against their own teachings. And it's all because they didn't have a real god. That's why they wanted Tsunami? Tsunami-sama belongs to Jurai. It would only sow seeds of discord to claim her. So I thought another one of the goddesses would work just as well. I thought Tsunami-sama would know something. But it's no use. Funaho-sama has also forsaken me. Eri covered her face with her hands and cried stifled sobs. Yosho gently stroked her hair, feeling for Eri, trapped between her country and her friends and driven to an emotional cliff. Funaho felt the same. Eri, don't cry. Her voice that spoke to their minds was sad, sympathizing with Eri. Eri slowly raised her face to look at Funaho. Eridano. Tsunami is not a god, Yosho said. Even if she has that much power, she can't be the kind of god you espouse, and that's not what she would want. The person who met Tsunami and became the first leader of Jurai was said to have stated, "We became friends." Friends? With Tsunami-sama. Eri, don't cry. Eri signaled that she was fine to a worried Funaho. Eridano, it's the same for Funaho and me. We became friends. And she didn't forsake you. She was just surprised. You suddenly went down on your knees, so she, let's say, ducked away to take cover like a puppy, and then she peeked out to make sure you were all right. Eri, don't cry, Eri. The waves of pure sadness Funaho felt for Eri slowly but surely melted the heavy weight she had felt on her shoulders for so long. Eri. Don't cry, Funaho. I feel better now, okay? Eri wiped her tears and was now trying to comfort Funaho in turn. Are you sure? Eri won't cry. I'm fine, Eri smiled. Funaho giggled, the ticklish waves of joy widening the smile on Eri's lips. The beautiful lights had begun dancing again. Funaho, it's so pretty. Eri smiled. Eri raised her hands, and the spheres of light swarmed her. Funaho was not a god, but the light surrounding her seemed godly. That usually takes a while. Yosho could not help but smile at them. The melody started slowly. The Song of Trees sung by Funaho enveloped Eri. Yosho-kun. Hey, Yosho-kun. Huh. Eridono. Yosho forced open his eyes, shaken awake by Eri. Are you awake now? Eri laughed and poked his cheek mischievously. Please stop. Now he was wide awake. The morning sun shining into the bridge was hitting his cheek, which meant he had fallen asleep some time during Eri and Funaho's endless laughter. He finally came to his senses and bolted upright. Thanks, Yosho-kun. I feel better now. I don't have any answers yet, but at least I feel free to think. I'm sorry it got so late that it's morning now. Haha. I am sorry. I should have kept watch. I'm fine. I filed an application for an overnight stay before I left. But it's no problem. I left a dummy behind, and there's no roll call in the morning. Is that one where you can only bluff that you're in your own room? No, it's under Funaho's control, so it's a hologram. Then make it so you went out. Let's grab breakfast somewhere. Oh, could I use the shower first? Then I'll get your outfit cleaned and get a change of clothes ready. We can eat here if you'd like. Well, okay, maybe we should, Eri answered after a short pause to think. Then let's go to the living quarters. They transported off the bridge and went down the passage built against the trunk of the giant tree in the middle of the residential quarters. There was a forest, a river, a lake and hills, and a vast field filled with crops. The view was of a rural countryside. Eri murmured, stunned. Well, where are we? This is a residential area affixed in subspace. Ow! Eri had pinched Yosho's cheek. Looks like this isn't a dream. Aren't you supposed to pinch your own? Well, you were looking so proud, I couldn't help myself. But how is such a huge space affixed in a tiny cruiser? Is Funaho doing this? Yes. This place has a diameter of 100 kilometers. The second-generation trees can affix a space up to the size of 10 planets, but we have no idea what the maximum limit is for a first-generation tree. But this is a personal space, and it would be meaningless to make it arbitrarily large, so this is what I have. What's wrong? You deserve to be proud of that. What an incredible friend. She could only laugh at this point. We've been waiting for you, Eri-sama. The door opened and they were welcomed by a force field hologram dressed as a lady-in-waiting. Thanks. So this is your room, Yosho-kun. Flabbergasted by the solemn wooden building, she breathed a sigh of admiration. You're the daughter of a religious leader. Why would this be shocking to you? Yosho stubbornly protested at her persistent surprise. Nobody on Irai has a private room with a garden 100 kilometers square in subspace. Are you mad now? She chuckled. No, not really. I like the buildings on Jirai. They look very natural and dignified. It makes you feel at home. I like those of our churches that reuse old ruins, but the modern ones are really flashy, so Eri stuck her tongue out shyly. This way, please. The lady-in-waiting led her to the guest bathroom. Then I guess I'll help myself. Take your time. Eri walked a couple steps and turned around. You better not. I won't peep. You could freak out a little. You're no fun, Eri grumbled. He gazed upon the pastoral scenery that stretched as far as the eye could see. Well, it was rather gaudy. He remembered the extremely colorful main shrine he had seen in the data files, which could not be called beautiful by any standard, and headed to his own bathroom. Yosho-kun. Hey, Yosho-kun. Yosho had finished first and had been waiting on the terrace when Eri burst out from the guest room in Jurian clothes. With her hair down, she looked so different that he was mesmerized. What's the matter? Nothing. It looks good on you. You think so? Thanks. No. I mean this. She seemed momentarily bashful, but went back to her usual shouting self, holding the fabric in her fingertips. Was it not to your liking? I'm afraid it's. That's not it. This is Jurian raw silk, isn't it? The finest, too. I've only ever seen it on church leaders. It feels so nice. She stroked the fabric, enjoying its texture. Jurian raw silk was made in the exact same way as silk on Earth, but it was much finer and more durable. High-quality Jurian silk was translucent, and its color changed depending on the diet of the silkworms. It was produced in other countries as well, but the quality was inevitably inferior, and there were fewer colors available. It must be more expensive when you get as far out as Irai. This silk was made on board the ship. If you like it, please keep it. Really? Haha, Eri blissfully rubbed her cheek with the sleeve. Quality silk will last a long time if you treat it right. There's only so much I can use by myself, so I have quite a lot of raw silk stock. If you're in need of fabric, I can share as much as you want. I can also sew. He noticed that Eri was brooding over this with clearly mixed feelings, intuited that she was hesitating because of the cost, and added, how about market price on Jurai? How much? Let's see. They talked in whispers for some reason. No way. Really? I'll buy it. I'm so happy. What should I make? Eri hopped with joy at the conclusion of the negotiations. What Yosho was producing was the finest class of silk, worth more than Eri would have been able to afford. But Funaho took care of everything here, so there were no labor expenses nor need for a profit margin. Frankly, he could have given it away for free. He asked for a market price for something of ordinary quality that Eri would see as reasonable and affordable. Shall we have breakfast? Oh yeah, I was on cloud 9 and totally forgot. Say, maybe I should have asked earlier, but isn't the interior of a royal ship top secret? Yeah, it's too late. Yosho smiled wryly. Well, the residential quarters are my personal space, so anyone I invite is no problem. Only people the royal tree accepts can enter the bridge, but that means if the royal tree allows it, not even the Emperor of Jurai could forbid entry. It's top secret to protect the ships of the 4th generation and beyond, which are not sentient. If not even the most powerful person on Jurai can interfere, they must be truly special. Even if royal trees were not gods, what Eri had witnessed was truly unique. If you get into a fight and make them mad, sometimes they won't let you in. What? But they usually break down and talk to you when they get lonely. Heh, I get it. I can totally see that. Ha ha ha. Eri remembered how Funaho acted like a puppy in the Hall of Royal Trees and laughed out loud, Yosho smiling with her. Funaho got jealous and started talking to them, of course, so their laughter grew even louder. Later, Kaisen fled to Jurai after only 3 months of study. The minions who were left behind merged into Kanemitsu's group and finally got to focus on their studies. Yosho grew to be able to talk to them normally, but he could never understand Kaisen's intent. Harassment of Eri and Yosho ceased, and peaceful days continued. Even Kanemitsu, who had given them so many warnings, never brought her up again. Did I handle this well? Yosho questioned himself over the homework that Sito had manipulated data to give him. It was too simple. He thought there may have been something he had overlooked and reached for the terminal, but there was no clue or even a sign of trouble. It did not take long for the question to become buried in a corner of his memories because campus life with Eri was fun. Before he knew it, 6 months had passed. Good morning, Eri-senpai. Good morning, Yosho-kun. It was their usual morning greeting, but it was very different from that of 6 months ago. Whether as the result of Eri's persistent education or the relatively free vibe of the academy, Yosho had become more boyish, and the difference from before was clear. It had taken him weeks to grow accustomed to addressing her this way. Of course, whenever he called her senpai, she was afraid that a part of her deep inside was awakening to something. She realized that he seemed different from usual. What's wrong? Yosho scratched his head, hesitant, but he knew he had to come out and say it, so he opened his tightly pursed lips. It was about the communication he had received from Jurai last night, from Sito. You look well, Yosho Dano. We haven't talked in a while. I'm glad you're well, too, Sito-sama. Thank you. I've heard that you've been very busy. We've heard the rumors all the way in Jurai. Sito stared at Yosho with her usual elegant countenance. She was not angry, but Yosho felt her gaze to be terrifying, and she had subtly placed an emphasis on the busy part. It was clear she knew everything. Yosho knew he needed to come clean first and quickly spoke. Sito-sama, I carefully considered how to handle the matter of Aridano in my own way. He desperately tried not to let her notice that his voice was shaking. He did not feel guilty, and he regretted nothing. But when faced with Sito, the relaxation of 6 months here blew away like a feather. I'm well prepared for a lecture, but he had summoned up the courage to say this much when the pressure of her eyes melted away. Yosho looked at Sito anew as if a spell were broken. Oh, nobody is mad about that. The Emperor of Jurai is extremely pleased that your efforts as a goodwill exchange student have been better than expected. All the visiting ambassadors have been talking about you. Yosho knew, looking at her satisfied smile, that she had been teasing him. It was a bad habit of hers to shave years off someone's life like this. Yosho sulked, pouting his lips, and looked away. Sito chuckled with her sleeve against her mouth, more than satisfied. She teased him because this was the expression she wanted to see. According to Sito, this sulky expression was the thing about him that resembled Azusa, the Emperor of Jurai, the most. What a nuisance. He was well within his rights to think so. Sito-sama, was that all? I called you today to bring you word of the order from Azusa-sama, Emperor of Jurai. From father. It was. What? An order to go home. Eri could not help but raise her voice. You're not coming back? I will. My father ordered me to fulfill my duties as Crown Prince on Jurai for 6 months out of the year. Then you'll be back in 6 months? Yes, I will. I see. Eri let out a sigh of relief. Nobody noticed that her expression grew slightly firmer as the day of his departure approached. It was a subtle difference she did not even realize herself. The day before he left, Yosho looked for Eri to say goodbye, but he could not find her anywhere. Her friends had also been looking for her, and they went to all the places they knew, to no avail. He reluctantly went to pay his respects to others, and it was night by the time he went to see Kanemitsu last of all. He walked down the dorm hallway and almost bumped into a man as he rounded a corner. Excuse me, Masaki-kun. The man nodded lightly and left. Yosho did not know him, but he was a lecturer for the students a grade above him, and remembered that he had seen him with Kanemitsu a number of times. This was a student dorm, but teachers often came and went, so Yosho paid no heed and continued to Kanemitsu's room. Before, he would have noticed the slight change in his attitude, his hostility and scorn. But the 6 months of living here had cast a fog over his instincts. Kanemitsu Dano, it's Yosho. The intercom by the door gave him permission to enter, and the door opened. Masaki Dano, it's you. What's the matter? Don't you leave tomorrow? Well, I wanted to pay my respects. You didn't have to come all the way here. You're serious to a fault. If the Crown Prince of Jurai is leaving, you can be sure everyone will see you off tomorrow. I'll be back in 6 months, so that's really not necessary. The others are fond of you. Well, there's nothing wrong with seeing off a friend. Is that why you're here? I came to ask you a favor. He did not have much time, so he went straight to the point. Guard Eri? Is that what you want me to do? Not really guard, but can you watch out for her? Yosho bowed deeply. Why? Why are you asking me? I told you before to stay away from her. Kanemitsu argued, confounded. Even if they had become friends, Yosho was the son of his country's sovereign. You're the one who held people back from harassing her. It wasn't a personal grudge. And Jurian warriors don't harass non-combatant women. I'm counting on you. No, I can't. I'm returning to Jurai in a few days. It did not escape Yosho's notice that Kanemitsu's expression darkened. Why? The study abroad is for a minimum of 2 years, and I heard you were staying to get your master's degree. Humph. I can see why you got the order to go home, Kanemitsu said sarcastically. What do you mean? I feared you the way you were before. Feared? Yeah, you were just a kid, but also like a sharpened blade, with eyes that saw everything. Not a sham like Kaisen. Small, but a wolf befitting the imperial family. Airy Magma sure is something. I guess she tamed that wolf. In that sense, she was no delicate flower herself, befitting the daughter of a head of state. It was just supposed to scare her a little back then, but I got too fired up. Kanemitsu was not acting like his usual self. Kanemitsu Dano? Just as Yosho began to ask, Kanemitsu's figure blurred. Leaving after images behind, he slashed at Yosho. Yosho instinctively blocked with the button on the sleeve of his uniform. The swordsmanship was not at all like Kanemitsu's previous feats, but more like an adult warrior. Impressive, Kanemitsu said. You've lost your touch, yet you blocked it easily. But how would you have handled it before? Kanemitsu was right. Before, Yosho would not have even had to parry the attack. Even if Kanemitsu's slash was that of a warrior's, Yosho would have imperceptibly moved his upper body at a speed faster than what could be recognized. Fast enough to seem like Kanemitsu's sword had passed through his body. He did not do that not out of carelessness, but because his focus had dulled. He knocked the sword away, moved back to a distance, and yelled, Impossible. Are you the one who attacked Eri-senpai? Hey, you know my father serves Kaisen. And the Amaki family is related to the imperial house Amaki. The answer is simple. He remembered the expression on the lecturer he ran into. That sneer had been in anticipation of what was to happen here. I didn't expect this kind of answer. That lecturer. My contact. They're excessively cautious when they contact me. He was giving me the orders from House Amaki, and I was giving my report. Kanemitsu Dano. Are you sure you want to be saying these things? You're concerned about a spy, now? I betrayed you. I thought you didn't have a choice, considering your father's position. Faye, I can see how Eri thinks you deserve a punch. Be more selfish. You could ask Sito-sama to protect you and Kaneki Dano. Kanemitsu abruptly punched him in the face. You idiot! A Jurian warrior could never do that. What a disgrace. My dad and I haven't sunk so low that you need to worry about us. You're the one whose standing is shaky. It'll be 10,000 years before you've come far enough to worry about me. But don't worry, he wouldn't make me do anything important. Come to think of it, he never specified who the orders came from. Are you saying it's possible it's not House Amaki? Who knows? I certainly don't care. It's true that he kept mentioning my father. Kanemitsu seemed to say this on purpose, but it seemed clear that it had to do with House Amaki. About Kaneki Dano. Dad isn't that weak. He's there through his own convictions. Kanemitsu cut off Yosho. I'm sorry. You don't know this, but Dad is a well-known warrior. If I'm ever worried about him, he smacks me. Worry about your own dang self. He even broke my tooth once. I'll never worry about him. So don't you worry about him either. He said I'm no longer needed. He told me I'm free to do what I want, even if it was to tell you the truth. I failed to pull you apart from Eri, so there's no more reason for them to keep me here. And you have other problems. It's not like I hadn't thought about it before. House Masaki. Well, it's a real nuisance. I'm sorry. But why did House Amaki try to separate me and Eri-senpai? The underlings never understand what their bosses want. I see. You would think it would be more convenient for them if I stayed with Eridano. It shouldn't have been a problem to try to pull us apart openly rather than subversively. Who knows? You know better than I do. I have no idea. But it means what's at stake is more complicated than we could imagine. He told me to watch the others so they don't harass Eri. So don't worry about her. Kanemitsu seemed to have gotten it all out of his system, reverting to his usual demeanor. I heard you wanted to get a master's degree here. I don't want to pry, but then don't. I was an idiot to depend on others. I appreciate your sentiment as a friend. Okay, I'll make them acknowledge me one day. Like Utsutsumi-sama. The head of House Kamiki, Utsutsumi, used to be a warrior, but he united the unaffiliated pirates and warriors with his superior skills and made people acknowledge the addition of a 13th army among the 12 divine generals, serving House Kamiki at the time. He's amazing. He married the woman known as Jurai's demon princess. And he's the father of Misaki-sama. Yosho's cheeks flushed at Misaki's name. Speaking of that demon princess, someone wanted a lock of her hair. What's the story behind it? Is that what they said? It all started a long time ago during the battle with the Pirates Guild. That was the war where Sito had earned her nickname. Sito-sama gave locks of her hair as good luck charms to the new recruits. And they all returned alive. That started the trend of carrying locks of hair from powerful or lucky people. That sounds like Sito-sama. Misaki-sama is the only one who won all 7 championships of the Jurai martial arts. She's especially popular among the warriors. Kanemitsu looked at the clock. The time was close to roll call. You return home tomorrow. You'd better get going. I'm sorry I overstayed my welcome. We may be able to meet again on Jurai. Stay well until then. Yosho held out his hand, and Kanemitsu reflexively shook it. At that moment, he transferred the invisible guardian summoning diagram on his to Kanemitsu's. It was not likely that anything would happen to him, but there was no guarantee. I'm sure he'll tell me to butt out. He could not hand over a terminal to Funaho like he'd done with Eri, and though a lot inferior to a guardian controlled by Funaho, Kanemitsu and his warrior strength would be able to handle most situations. Kanemitsu saw Yosho out of the room. It's roll call already. I didn't get to see Eridano. He then remembered that there was one last place she could be that he had not looked yet, and instead of returning to the dorm, went to the spaceport. He boarded Funaho and ran to the Hall of Royal Trees. Eri was there. What are you doing? There were an incredible number of puppies running around. Yosho approached Eri, who was in bliss, surrounded by those puppies. Oh, there you are. Finally. Eri's tone was cold. And here I thought that you would notice sooner. Right, babies? She was the picture of a wife making a sarcastic comment to a husband too busy to pay attention to her. But Yosho, being 13, he'd aged a year while he was at the academy, could not understand what she was trying to say, and Eri did not expect him to. She was enjoying a self-contained, grown-up joke against a younger boy. I'm sorry. Are these puppies Funaho? Yes. I wanted to do this just once. You took so long coming here, so I figured this was the perfect opportunity. Eri giggled and hugged a puppy hologram created by Funaho. Funaho reacted to her joy, and the puppies charged Yosho and Eri en masse. The two were covered in puppies. Hey, Funaho. Ha 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 ha. Bombarded by the soft, cuddly puppies and Funaho's ticklish, emotional wave, Eri was in a trance. In the middle of this puppy mob, Eri and Yosho momentarily touched, skin to skin. Eri vowed not to forget the feeling. I'll make sure to remember until he comes back in 6 months. Yosho-kun. Come on, Yosho-kun. Eridano. Shaken awake, Yosho opened his eyes slightly. Are you awake? Eri laughed and poked his cheek mischievously. Please stop. He was now fully awake. This is the same as last time. It's morning already, haha. The sunlight shining through the bridge was hitting their faces, which meant that they had fallen asleep here again. Except it was more like they passed out. I brought a change of clothes to see you off, so can I use the shower? Then we'll have breakfast in my room again. Okay, Eri answered with a smile, extended her hand, and grabbed Yosho's. He would normally balk in protest, but just for this moment, it felt like the right thing to do. He pulled her hand as he walked. Let's go to my living quarters.